Today's lesson is a stay in a guest house. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And I'm Kiki.
And today, Kiki and myself are going to be talking about a stay in a guest house. Remember, last time we had a couple of conversations between Lucy and Simon, who was answering the phone, and Lucy had a couple of requests. Do you remember what those requests were, Kiki?
Yes. Well, the first one was that her friend Henry had a last-minute change of mind, that he wanted to join her in Tasmania. So she called Magnificent Morning Guest House to see if they had any more vacancies at the guest house.
Indeed, that was one request she made, and also she wanted to change their arrival time, or at least to change the time of the pickup time, because the flight had been delayed. Well, in today's lesson, of course, she's going to have arrived at the guest house, and she wants some information about eating. She's asking about a restaurant, and also she's going to be asking about a tour guide, because she wants someone to take them around and show them the sights. So let's dive right into today's lesson. Let's listen to the first conversation. 3, asking about a restaurant, and then we'll talk about it.
3. Asking about a restaurant. Lucy and Henry ask Simon to recommend a restaurant.
Excuse me, Simon. We're hoping to try some authentic local foods tonight, and we were wondering if there's a particular restaurant you'd recommend.
Oh, yes. There are a number of places that serve local specialties like various seafoods, wallaby, and leatherwood honey. Have you checked out some options online? We have, but we were hoping to get the opinion of a local who's in the know. I see. My personal favorite recently is a place called Baker's Bay. They serve some great salmon and trout dishes, as well as some incredible desserts.
That sounds good to me. Could you show us where it is?
No problem. Let me get the map.
大家好，第一部分我们可以看到形容词 authentic， 它指的是道地的、正宗的、真正的或是可靠的。例如 Ian is trying to find an authentic French restaurant. Ian 试着要找一间正宗的法国餐厅。或者 After a thorough inspection, it was determined that the painting was authentic. 经过一番透彻的检验后，那幅画被判定是真迹。接下来我们看到名词 specialty， 意思是特色食品、特产、招牌菜或是专长。举例来说 Chocolate donuts are that bakery's specialty. 巧克力甜甜圈是那间面包店的特产。又或者说 The chef can cook anything, but his specialty is seafood. 那位大厨能烹调各种菜肴，但海鲜料理才是他的拿手绝活。另外，去掉这个字字尾的 ty， 就会变成形容词 special， 意思是特别的。例如 We took mom to a special restaurant for dinner. 我们带妈妈去一间特别的餐厅吃晚餐。再举一个例子 Christmas is a special holiday to me. 圣诞节对我来说是个特别的节日。
Okay, so conversation number 3 for today is entitled Asking About a Restaurant. This might not be asking about a specific restaurant, but a question regarding restaurants in general. Like, where are some good places to eat around here? Can you recommend a restaurant or two for us so we can go have a bite to eat?
Right. So asking for a recommendation is when you ask somebody, and usually it's somebody that's local, somebody that's familiar with the area. You're asking them what they know to be the best place to eat, or places that they could visit, places that they can go and have fun and enjoy. So you ask for a recommendation. And when somebody gives you a recommendation, it doesn't mean that, oh, you have to go there. It's just a suggestion or just giving ideas of places that they could eat or things that they can do.
Right. And recommendation, of course, is the noun. And in this sentence here, Lucy and Henry are asking Simon to recommend a restaurant. So their recommend is a verb. Simon is from this area. He works there, so he should have some special knowledge about restaurants there. So when someone somebody recommends something to someone else, that means they know about that thing and they're going to tell you about it. They're going to make some suggestions. Now, Lucy says, "Excuse me, Simon. We're hoping to try some authentic local foods tonight, and we were wondering if there's a particular restaurant you'd recommend." Now, this, of course, is always important when you're traveling overseas. You want to try the local food, and you want the food to be authentic. Sometimes countries or restaurants in countries kind of cater to tourists. They make food that people may like because they're from other countries, but it's not really authentic. It's been changed for the tourists. Like if you go to Chinese restaurants in the United States, you'll probably think, this is not really authentic Chinese food. This is just Chinese food for Americans who can't really eat the real thing because they're not used to it.
Right. And I've noticed that even sometimes in Taiwan, you'd also see some restaurants from different countries. They would also try to cater or change their flavor to fit the Taiwanese palate more. So it might not be authentic. For example, like Indian food or Middle Eastern food. They would have to change some things in the ingredients so that the locals would be able to accept their flavor. So it might not be authentic.
Exactly. So if you're a traveler and you're willing to try local foods and eat the real thing, then you're going to ask for authentic local food. The way people in Tasmania eat their food, they're not looking to go to Pizza Hut or McDonald's. They want to eat real Tasmanian food. And she goes on to say, "We were wondering if there's a particular restaurant you'd recommend." Do you have a specific or a particular restaurant that you would recommend for us in order to have some authentic local food?
So Simon says, "Oh yes, there are a number of places that serve local specialties like various seafoods, wallaby, and leatherwood honey." Wow. Okay, so just from here, specialties is basically a place where they specialize in something. So they focus on a specific type of delicacy or they focus on a specific topic. So for example, even schools can have specialties. So you can have specialty schools that focuses on theater and music or specialty schools that focuses on sciences and maths. And restaurants can also have specialties, like Middle Eastern restaurants. They'll specialize in Middle Eastern cuisine.
Exactly. So, of course, here in Taiwan, many local cities and towns have their own specialties. Like if you go to Danshui, of course, I think the iron eggs are a local specialty there, or the fish balls, they're a local specialty. And you can talk about different kinds of local specialties in different parts of Taiwan and in different parts of the world. So he says there are a number of places, there are quite a few restaurants that do serve local specialties, and those local specialties would include various kinds of seafoods, wallaby, and leatherwood honey. Now, of course, as you know, Australia and Tasmania have many local animals that you won't see anywhere else, like the koala or kangaroos. And another animal that is unique to Australia and Tasmania is the wallaby, which in Chinese just says a xiao daishu, a small kangaroo, but we don't call it that. But it is kind of similar. It is an animal that is similar to the kangaroo, but smaller.
Right. I actually prefer wallabies to kangaroos because I think they're a lot cuter. But here's a fun fact. I've actually had kangaroo meat when I was in Australia. And it was really interesting because you wouldn't think, oh, what does kangaroo meat taste like? But it actually just tastes like normal meat. And to a lot of people, everyone thinks, oh, kangaroos are really cute. How can we eat kangaroos? But actually in Australia, they actually have special farms that domesticated these kangaroos. So they actually grow and breed these kangaroos and they sell the meat. So to Australians, eating kangaroo meat is actually really, really normal.
Yeah, why not? Of course, pigs are cute and cows are cute and we eat those. Even chickens could be considered cute, but we still hack their heads off and fry them up in the frying pan. We don't seem to have any problem with that. So yes, indeed, you could have some wallaby, some kangaroo if you go to Australia. And you could also have something called leatherwood honey. And here, Simon has a question. Have you checked out some options online. Nowadays, if you travel, of course, you might want to do some research about your destination and find out what they serve. What are their local specialties? So he asks her, yeah, what if you found out online? What kinds of food would you like to try based on the research you should have done?
Right. So Henry says that they have. But we were hoping to get the opinion of a local who's in the know. So nowadays, when we look online for recommendations or suggestions, we get a lot of answers. And sometimes we don't really know whether these answers are true or not, because anybody can leave comments online. So sometimes we still prefer to ask the locals. And in this case, Henry says, of a local who's in the know. When you say somebody is in the know, it's like you're describing somebody that really knows what's going on, especially when they're locals. So they really know what's going on around them, or they really know what's happening. You know, they have a different point of view from outsiders.
Indeed, and when you travel, it's always nice to talk to locals because that's more of an authentic experience. You get to talk to an actual person who lives in that place or a person who's actually from there. So, of course, Henry and Lucy want the recommendation of a local, and they would be in the know, somebody who has special information that they can provide, and they can recommend some restaurants. Well, Simon says, I see, I understand what you mean. My personal favorite recently is a place called Baker's Bay. And they serve some great salmon and trout dishes as well as some incredible desserts. So that's his recommendation here. They serve some seafood. Salmon, of course, is a kind of fish that has orange or pink meat. And trout is also a kind of fish. And trout, I think in Chinese is 鳟鱼. That's about all I can say with that. Lucy says, that sounds good to me. Could you show us where it is? Could you tell us where that restaurant is? Simon says, no problem. Let me get the map. And yes, indeed, if you want to show someone where something is, a good thing to use would be a map. Okay, that brings us to the end of conversation 3. Let's move on now to conversation 4, asking about a tour guide. Yeah, they want to go around and see the sights. Let's listen.
4. Asking about a tour guide. Lucy and Henry ask Simon about hiring a tour guide.
Good morning. Do you have any plans for today?
We'd like to take a tour of some local sites like Mount Wellington and the Wildlife Park to get a taste of Tasmanian life. Could you recommend a tour guide service for that?
There's an excellent tour service I can refer you to that would definitely fit the bill. You can even tell them exactly what you'd like to see, and they'll design the tour accordingly. Sounds great. And they could pick us up and drop us off here at the guest house? That's right. Shall I ring them for you now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
第二部分我们看到单字 wildlife， 它是名词，指的是野生动物或是野生物种。例如 You can take photos, but please do not get too close to the wildlife. 你可以拍照，但请不要离那些野生动物太近。或是 The destruction of the rainforest threatens the local wildlife. 热带雨林的破坏威胁着当地的野生物种。再举一个例子 What kind of wildlife will we see when we go camping next weekend? 下周末我们去露营时会看到什么样的野生动物呢？接下来我们看到动词 refer， 它的意思是转介、推荐或是指点。例如 Uncle Ben referred me to Dr. Crawford. Ben 叔叔介绍我去看 Crawford 医生。又或者说 My doctor referred me to a physical therapist to help me recover faster. 我的医生将我转诊给物理治疗师，好帮助我快速恢复。另外，这个字也有提到论及的意思。例如 The book you are referring to was written over 200 years ago. 你提到的那本书是200多年前写的。再举一个例子 This area of town is referred to as Little Italy. 城里的这个区域被称为小意大利。最后我们看到副词 accordingly， 它的意思是照着、相应的或是因此。像是 This concert will take place outdoors, so be sure to plan for the weather accordingly. 这场音乐会将在户外举行，所以一定要依天气做好相对应的计划。也可以说 Trudy was advised of the new policy change and acted accordingly. Trudy 被告知新的政策变化，并采取了相对应的行动。
Okay, again, this is conversation number 4, asking about a tour guide, a person who can take you around and show you the sights and give you some local information and things like that. Now, Lucy and Henry ask Simon about hiring a tour guide. And I guess they go down to the front desk and Simon is there. He says, "Good morning. Do you have any plans for today?" Yes, indeed, you're tourists. You're coming here to Tasmania. Certainly, you must have some plans for today, like where you want to go, what you want to do, things like that.
Right, and Lucy says, "We'd like to take a tour of some of the local sites like Mount Wellington and the wildlife park to get a taste of Tasmanian life." So Lucy and Henry, they really want a local tour so they can really see how the Tasmanians live and what are some of their local sites like Mount Wellington. So in this case, Mount Wellington. Mount is the word that you use when you call or name a mountain, okay? So it could be a really big and famous mountain, and you usually just name it Mount Fuji or Mount Everest, okay? So it's something that's really tall and there's a high peak.
Exactly. So we should mention something about naming mountains in the West. It's either Mount something or something mountain. You can't say something mount or mountain something. Here we've got a mountain in Tasmania called Mount Wellington. And that's what they call it, so you can't call it Wellington Mountain. They'll know what you mean, but the official name would be Mount Wellington. And they also want to check out something called the Wildlife Park, and they want to get a taste of Tasmanian life. Wildlife, of course, refers to the natural life in the place. It could be both plants and animals. So if you're into wildlife here in Taiwan, for example, you might want to check out some of the local trees or some of the local birds and animals.
Right. And in Australia, wildlife parks are usually really popular. They have them everywhere because they always house very unique animals, like the wallaby. I've seen an albino kangaroo before, and even koalas. And that's usually the place that people go where they can really get up close and personal and meet these animals that they might never see in another country.
Indeed. And if I were to go to Australia, I certainly would like to see the lyrebird. But again, here they want to check out a wildlife park and they want to get a taste of Tasmanian life to just see what it's like. And she says, "Could you recommend a tour guide service for that? Could you arrange a tour with a tour guide?" And Simon says, "There's an excellent tour service I can refer you to that would definitely fit the bill." Now, here we've got the verb to refer, and usually it's used with the preposition to. I can refer you to someone else. I can give you this information, and then you can go contact them and make some arrangements yourself.
Right. Then Simon says, you can even tell them exactly what you'd like to see, and they'll design the tour accordingly. So that's why Simon said to Lucy that I can refer to you. That way you can contact the tour directly and then let them know exactly what you want to do. So there's a lot of tours that they're already planned out and organized by all these tour companies. But a lot of times it might not fit exactly the things that you want to do. So in this case, Simon is letting Lucy know that you can contact them directly and the tour company will help you design or plan out a schedule of the day that is according to everything that you want to do on that day.
So you tell them where you want to go, for how long, and at what time. They will make the arrangements accordingly, or they will make the arrangements according to your demands or to your requests.
Henry then says, "Sounds great." And they could pick us up and drop us off here at the guest house?
Indeed, and that's always convenient. If you arrange a tour with somebody, they'll probably come over and pick you up in a van or in a small bus, and there'll be other people that you can go touring with. You can meet them and become good friends with them, etc., etc. You can enjoy the experience together. And Simon says, well, that's right. Indeed, they will pick you up right here at the guest house. And Simon says, shall I ring them for you now? Shall I give them a telephone call for you? And Lucy says, yes, please. Thank you. So it looks like they've been successful in arranging a tour for local sites in Tasmania. That brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's hear from Hanny now.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在课文第一部分的对话里， Lucy 和 Henry 想要请 Simon 推荐一些道地的在地美食。那么 Simon 就问他们说， Have you checked out some options online? 你们有在网络上查过一些选项了吗？好，那这边我们来介绍一下片语 check out 的几种常见用法。第一种呢 check out 当及物用，可以表达看一看、瞧一瞧、去查看、去了解什么什么的情况。举例来说 We're going to check out the new bookstore， 就是说我们要去那间新的书店去看一看，去了解那边的状况。好，再来第二个，我们用 check out 当及物用，还可以指检验啊、检查，或者是有核实、调查的意思。那假设朋友的车子一直发出奇怪的声音，这个问题已经拖很久了，那这时候你就可以对他说 You really need to have a mechanic check the car out。 你真的需要请修车师傅检查看看这台车到底出了什么问题了。好，再来第三个 check out 当及物用，还可以表达登记借阅，像是在图书馆来登记借阅。举例来说 She went to the local library and checked out a book on gardening。 她去当地图书馆借了一本跟园艺有关的书。那么第四个 check out 当不及物用的时候呢，可以指结账退房、办理退房手续。那么后面还可以接 of 加名词来表达退房、离开某地，像是 They went straight to the airport after checking out of the hotel。他们退房后就直接去机场了。好，再来看到课文第二部分的对话里 Simon 说他可以推荐一个很棒的导游服务，绝对能符合需求。那他用到 fit the bill 来表达符合需要、正合所需或者是适合的意思。那这个用语也可以把它写作 fill the bill。 举例来说Only a few candidates fit the bill for the position。 只有少数几位应征者符合这个职位的要求。好，那也要补充一下，另外一个片语叫 foot the bill， F-O-O-T 这个 foot， 可是这时候它跟脚没有关系哦。foot the bill 是指买单或是付账单的意思。那么 foot 在这边是当动词来表达付款，所以同学们要注意不要把这个 fit the bill 跟 foot the bill 混淆了。我们来造个例句Since it's a business dinner, the company will foot the bill. 由于这是商务晚餐，公司会负责买单的。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Recommend. Lena went to the library to check out the book her professor recommended. Authentic. The restaurant uses authentic ingredients to give its dishes the most delicious flavors. Specialty.The local farms raise prize cattle, so beef dishes are the town's specialty. Mount.
Mr. Chambers hopes to climb Mount Everest one day.
Wildlife. Much of the area's wildlife died in the recent forest fire. Refer. Mrs. Houston referred me to her dentist when I told her about my toothache.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Kiki.
See you next time.